Haley Hoosier here for another episode of Watching the Film, a film study on IU basketball. And today we take a look at a few different sets from the season opener against Alabama A&M. What really stood out to me in this game above everything else was Indiana's ability to score in the paint and do it without the post up. Something we saw a lot of during the Mike Woodson era was post entry passes to Umar Ballo, Khalil Ware, Trace Jackson Davis. We saw none of that in this opener against Alabama A&M, and nevertheless, Indiana scored 52 points in the paint, a number that approximates what they typically did against low and mid-major teams in the Mike Woodson era. So how'd they do it without utilizing post passes? We're going to take a look at a few examples right now, and beginning with this set here, early in the game, you got Tate and Conaway bringing it up, and you got two bigs lifted out of the paint. Could be called a horns action. You could use a lot of things out of this. You could set high ball screens, but in this case, Alexis is going to set a screen for Tucker DeVries, and let's start the tape with that screen. So there you see it. Alexis screens for DeVries, and the first thing to watch for is how this is going to be guarded. There's a number of ways you could fight over the top of that because you got a shooter. You could fight under that and probably risk an almost certain three-point shot, or you could switch, and that's what Alabama A&M does here. So let's watch Sam Alexis's man switch over to Tucker DeVries. So there you have it. And I let it go a little bit too far, but you'll see what happens there. You now got Alexis's man kind of big on wing here, and you got a smaller guy on Sam Alexis. And what Alexis did there, just a moment before this pass came from Tate and Conaway, is seal off this guy. And what you'll notice is this lane is wide open, and that's because you got Connor Enright over here. You got Trent Sisley over here, two guys who have a scouting report as shooters. You got everybody else lifted out here, so the lane is wide open. So quite the inverse of putting a guy on the block and feeding the post. There's nobody in the paint, but you're going to watch as, this is what Tate Conaway was looking for here. He was looking to see, can I get this switch? Small on big, can Alexis seal him off? And if he can, it's going to be a wide open lane for Alexis. And by the way, Sam Alexis, Reed Bailey, two skilled bigs, or at least relatively speaking skilled bigs. So if they catch a pass right here at the free throw line area, they can do something with it. It's not as if they're just confined to taking a mid-range jump shot. So everything kind of comes together on this. And that's a play that you've seen teams run against Indiana several times. I think of Chris Collins with Northwestern. I think of the Micah Shrewsbury Penn State teams where you got that flare out three that Tucker DeVries could have had, and that was probably an option on this play as well. But the best option was go to Alexis. So far by Lamar Wilkerson's ability to score in the paint. I thought he had a reputation and primarily just as a shooter, and that's certainly his strength as a basketball player. But he's shown me going back to Puerto Rico and the Baylor exhibition, and again on Wednesday evening against Alabama A&M, that he is a guy that can also score in the paint, and because he's such a good shooter, he's learned the art of attacking closeouts and utilizing shot fakes and kind of just knowing when to look for a shot and when to, attack and get downhill because, he's obviously being guarded in a way that teams are trying to take that away. So in this sequence here, you got Tate and Conaway bringing up. You're going to find Wilkerson's in the corner here, and they're going to use a down screen in an attempt to get him open. And Wilkerson's guy right here, his scouting report on Wilkerson is to hug against him, don't leave him, don't give him any space. And you're going to see he kind of loses track of that assignment for a brief second. And so, look at this space right here. It looks like a good pass might be enough to get Wilkerson the ball for an open shot, and he's certainly within his range right there to do so. But he's already recognized that this guy that was guarding him has recognized that he lost track of him and is in a full on sprint to make up for that space. And given that this guy's got some decent length and athleticism, Lamar knows that because he's in recovery mode, he's going to get there in time to take away that shot. And so this is where the freedom in Indiana's offense really shows out on film. What Wilson can do here is basically, just utilize a back cut. He could have caught the ball and shot faked. He could have, attacked the closeout in any number of ways, but he didn't even need to catch the ball here. He knew what was coming. He knew what his defender was doing. He knew his defender was had already beat himself by losing track of him and having to recover so quickly. So he immediately, as his defender's going one way, he takes off the other, and that's really hard for a defense to recover from. And you'll notice right there the pass by Enright. The passing by this team has really stood out as well. You got multiple guys on the floor right now. You see Tate Conaway, Reed Bailey, Tucker DeVries, Connor Enright. Those are four guys with a track record in Division One basketball as heavy assist guys. They're all good passers. They like to score the ball like anybody else, but they more importantly, they just look to make the right basketball play. So you got a guy with the instincts of Wilkerson and the passing ability of Enright, and you get the ball delivered, on time and on target like it was here. And Wilkerson, he's in the crowd there. He's got four guys around him, but he's crafty enough to finish. He finishes here with his left hand, which he's, shown that he can do. You're going to see this guy probably should have, attempted to impact his shot a little bit more. I would suspect at that point he would have found the ball, find its way to Conaway in the corner for a three. But because that's something else Wilkerson has shown as well. So in any event, this is just one example where you can hug up to Wilkerson on the arc. You can tag him as a shooter, but I've seen enough now to think that he's got the potential to make people pay for that scouting report. Another one we'll take a look at. This time it'll be Reed Bailey making the pass. And once again, the theme is, good passers, good spacing, defense focused on taking away the three, and all equals good things happening in the paint for Indiana without utilizing a post up. So Tate Conaway with the ball right now. They're gonna You're gonna see some motion. Bailey going baseline, stays moving. Everybody's moving. Bailey up to the elbow now, keeps moving. Now he's kind of playing a point forward role as he gets the ball there. You see a lot of this with both Bailey and Tucker DeVries with the ball in their hands in this area of the court where Bailey is right now. And the key right here is look, everybody is lifted above the free throw line except Connor Enright, and he's making his way out of the paint as well. And this guy guarding Tucker DeVries, what's the top thing on his mind right now? He's hugging him. Like, do not let him get a 3-point shot. So as soon as Tucker DeVries kind of hedges one way, he's wired to stay right with him. And so look what happens. All it took was a little head and shoulder fake, and he's going the other way again. Perfect pass. And look at that lane. Like literally no one around because Enright has made his way over to the corner. Everybody else is lifted above the free throw line. And it's just going to be an easy bucket for Indiana once again. Look at here. We're going to see the skill of Reed Bailey as a big man. This time he's going to get the ball and we're going to see what he can do off the bounce. It's interesting. The narrative around Indiana basketball is that they lack size and therefore they lack rim protection, they lack defensive rebounding. But teams are going to struggle at times trying to guard Indiana on the other end because of the nature of their bigs, and specifically Reed Bailey. He's very quick. He's athletic. He can handle the ball. He's got a unique skill set for a 6'10" guy. And this set here is an example of how Indiana's going to utilize that skill set. So you got Conaway bringing it up. And again, they get the ball in Bailey's hands as kind of a point forward. You're going to see this a lot. It's going to be a recurring theme. They really like him matched up against a big out there in space. And this is really unique in the sense that, Conaway fed the ball to Bailey, but watch what Conaway does. He is the guy now setting the high ball screen. You think of high ball screen being big, setting it for a point guard. They've set it up the opposite because they want Bailey to have these opportunities like he's got right here. Reed Bailey, all he needs is his man to get a little bit picked off here in a screen. Connor's obviously got to be careful that he's not setting a moving screen. But now Bailey's downhill, and he's got to contend with this help right here. And the way that he contends with it is, really shows that he has a unique skill set as a 6'10" guy. That, that little head and shoulder fake had Connor's Way's man believing that the ball was going to go back out, and that's why his man left this space. He's also still got his body in front of his own man, and yet another illustration of his skill. He goes off 2 feet, something, that is an underappreciated art in basketball. If he had gone up not under control, maybe this man who's a pretty big player could have recovered and impacted his shot. But because he got on 2 feet, kept himself in front of his defender, he was able to dictate, how this went, and it ends up being an and one for Reed Bailey. So that's it for this edition of the film review. We'll try to do these periodically, if not every game. We'll see how it goes. I wanted to try this for this edition, the season opener for the DeVries era. Hopefully, we'll have a lot of good stuff to look at as this thing unfolds. We'll definitely do it again after the Marquette game Sunday in Chicago. And until then, we'll talk to y'all later.